Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. Militia Man and Crew, and Winnie stopped by today for a quick minute, but obviously she now knows that she's going to be watched for a minute and it's going to take off. So anyway, she's going to be running around the office. So anyway, we're here for the Dinar and to enjoy the news that's been coming out. It's been really pretty good. A couple days ago, Al-Sudani has established, quote unquote, a private sector development council headed by a big team. It is called the Private Sector Development Council, and what he did was address that they needed to establish a committee because Iraq's going to be going to the private sector, and basically we're not going to have anything to do about it. It's like it or not, here comes the private sector. And so some of the things that we'll probably see in the coming days is things like to support the fact that the private sector is coming, and that financial inclusion, digital transformation, all those things have been underway for many years and are being far more established and giving credibility to that the private sector is getting ready to just, I think, explode. It's going to be phenomenal. It says this particular article is private Iraqi banks established more than 1.2 million bank accounts within the last 9 months. Yeah, so after about 9 months, the upstart of this whole thing is the millions of accounts have been opened. Well, let's see, 1.2 million accounts were created within the last 9 months. They go on to say that thereafter there's been 3.54 million accounts. Savings accounts are up by 11%. There's others that are up, let's see, 5.55 million accounts. Fixed deposits have grown by 236,000 accounts. An additional 688,000 accounts have been increased for corporate accounts. Basically, the electronic payment companies have been just moving like gangbusters, 2.3 million cards during the past 9 months. It's bringing the total number of cards up to about 18.5 million cards. That's almost 50% of their population. Not quite, but close. Point of sale devices grew by 117% during the period, reaching another 23,261 devices out into the community. And they're just moving forward. And one of the big statements I think is that ATM machines grew by 2.9 thousand, which were now they're up to 2,223 machines at the end of the year. So they're up even more. The bottom line is this executive director goes on to say that transformations witnessed by the financial sector in Iraq are important to achieving economic reform. That's what Al-Sudani has been all about, economic and monetary reforms. So, and he goes on to say that this is due to support from the government and the central bank. You know, they're working together in the change of the process of external transfer to finance trade. Basically, bank accounts have risen significantly all across the board. Point of sale all across the board. What is it? It's all about all key components that are involved in building the private sector and introducing the digital transformation and financial inclusion that the people of Iraq so desperately need for all these years. And that's an ongoing process. And again, I don't think we can be able to stop it. And another part of the private sector, there's a good article out today that if you haven't read it, that's what we do here with Patreon. You know, we don't make up stories. We don't tell people things like it's never going to happen or it's going to happen tomorrow. But we do show, though, that there's real data that supports where we are. It's what we do here for a living. And it's amazing to see that company like Samsung represents the most prominent market in the Middle East. Well, the market in the Middle East, North Africa, everybody's grateful. They're bringing smart technology, and they believe that their niche is one of the most important markets in the Middle East. Okay, the technologies that they're bringing to the Iraqi market are smart things, technology as they call it. It's going to contribute to the customers' lives and easier and more flexible abilities to do things with money and with their electronic technology. So kudos to Samsung. They have a big niche, it looks like. I'm sure there's not going to be the only one, but that's a part of the private sector, and that's what we're seeing. Here, there's another article here that says disabling of the official working hours in all government institutions. It's a little bit of a sidebar from obviously the private sector that we were talking about. But Iraq is going to go through some elections here coming in the short term, and those elections are going to be effectively quiet. They're going to have a quiet time for that, but they're saying that the official working hours in all government institutions for December 18 and 19, and kudos to Pompey Peter and our crew for getting that one right, because I thought it was the 17th and the 18th, but here it is, 18th and 19th. So it says the Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani received today, Sunday, the chairman of the Council of the Independent High Electoral Commission, Omar Ahmed Mohammed, accompanied by the head of the Electoral Administration and Commission, Abbas al-Fatawi, and briefed on the latest preparations of the Commission to hold the provincial council elections scheduled for December 18th. Okay. It says the importance of preparing all these requirements for success in order for the results to be the real expression of the will of the Iraqi people in order to ensure that they are concluded fairly and transparently. I think all countries of the world, even our own, would probably like to see elections conducted fairly and transparently. So it goes on to say, so the schools have been shut down, it looks like, from December 12th, starting tomorrow, for about a week. In conjunction with the disruption of working hours, the schools are going to be a part of that. And it goes on to say, as well as the suspension of official working hours in all government institutions, December 18 and 19, which was approved by the Council of Ministers, or will be approved. So there you have, that's a little bit of a sidebar, because that's coming up. That's next Monday, Tuesday of next week, and you have to ask yourself what else has been going on. You guys remember, there are some things I don't think I have in here tonight, but the WTO has had meetings since October 31st, and they've been presently ongoing on a regular basis, and they're still ongoing, and there's going to be some more up to on the 13th, 14th, and 15th. Originally, we watched that the WTO had specific meetings, all-day meetings for the 15th, 14th, and the 15th. But then they added a new one, and instead of putting it on the back end, they moved it forward. So there's 3 meetings, the 13th, 14th, and 15th, and that's all about Iraq and other countries. And I think what they're saying here is that they're going to have graduations effectively for those countries that have met the requirements. Remember those training meetings that lasted all week? From all last week. It ended on Friday, I believe it was the 8th. Now they're going to have graduation, if you will. And then we did talk about in the future that they will have ceremonial things that will go on in February, but I have no reason to believe whatsoever that anything related to the Iraqi dinar exchange rate has anything to do with a ceremony that may happen in the future, which could be extended or brought forward, just like these meetings we saw today. And these meetings that we saw for the 14th and 15th, they were not published until a few days prior to the end of the week that they would even have them. And then they added a new one. So it's an ongoing process, it's a complex process, and all of us here with Militia Man and Crew are watching it unfold. But it is happening, and it's in real time, and I'll love to say it. I'm not making it up. I'm just reading it and analyzing it the best I can for all of you. So here, this one says the delegation of the Kurdistan Regional Government arrives in Baghdad to discuss customs and border crossings laws. Well, why is that important? Well, we all know that the IMF, like we pointed out, had an 11-day meeting from the 6th through the 17th of November, and it was on customs laws. It was in Jordan, and it was with the ASYCUDA, ICE kind of system. You can Google that acronym and you can get all those words for it. But it's a global customs. And anyway, they were talking about laws, and now they're talking about customs policy and amendments to the border crossings. It says that there has been a high delegation from the Kurdistan region arrived in Baghdad, and they were going to, it was the Interior Minister Reber Ahmed and the Minister of Finance and Economy, Sheikh Janab Nouri, and an accompanying delegation, and they met where in Baghdad for what? Customs policy in Iraq and the Kurdistan region in amending the border crossings laws. So they're actually here for a reason, and they just need to get it done. They're working hard to get it done from the sounds of it. Here's an additional article. I think I got three total, but this one here says Sudanese and Kurdistan delegation stress the importance of resolving border problems and unifying customs policies. So they want to bring the region, which is the Kurdistan region and central government of Baghdad, to unified one. And why do they have a unified treasury account? Well, all the monies that are going to come in from all the different regions, land, air, and sea, from the borders and ports, are going to go into this account. And they're going to help fund everything from the hydrocarbon law to the budget, which you haven't seen opened and spent yet. It is 2023, and we know that the 2023 budget is a retroactive budget. And everybody seems to, not everybody, but a lot of people seem to ask the question, why have the Kurds been financing their salaries? There's got to be a reason for it. And one of the reasons I would say is that they're suggesting that they're borrowing this money, and or if they are borrowing it, they don't ever really show the terms and conditions of the borrowing, but they suggest that they are financing. I'm not so sure, especially at this stage of the game, is because the 2023 budget being a retroactive budget goes back to the 1st of January 2023, and they need to show the results of that constitutionally, in my opinion, and this year's not over yet. So let's see how they work this. But ultimately, it says here, during this meeting, the general situation in the Kurdistan region of Iraq was discussed, and a number of security, financial, and economic files were discussed, in addition to discussing the ongoing preparations for the Kurdistan region having their elections next year. So we know that Iraq's having elections, provincial elections, here on the 18th and through the 19th, and they're looking at having theirs in February of next year. So ultimately, they're looking to have these meetings today for problems related to the border crossings, unifying the customs policy, and the overall goal is protection, the protection law of products in a way that achieves the national interests of the country and its people. And we all know that that's al-Sudani's goal, hands down. We haven't heard much about al-Sadr lately, but we all know that that's been his forte too, is to take care of the citizens. The next one here is Iraq's government meeting to unify customs policy at the border crossings in the region. It's not the same article, but it's in more depth. It goes on to talk about specifically the law number 30 of 2016 and the amendments, and proposing the necessary treatments to enable the authority to perform its duties. So that's what they've been talking about. They also had to deal with the cabinet resolution. It looks like it was number 23661 of 2023, which is responsible for reviewing procedures of unifying. So ultimately, the whole thing here is to bring all these things together at the same time, collectively, and that's what we're seeing. So the Cabinet Resolution 23661 of 23 is responsible for reviewing the procedures for unifying the customs policies at all border ports. Again, they used land, sea, and airports, and they're proposing the necessary decisions to implement what is stated in the ministerial curriculum. Okay, so bottom line is, what are they doing? It says, during this meeting, the reality of the border crossings were discussed and how to establish unified mechanisms. I think unified mechanisms is something that they're all going to work and use at the same time. and to what are they going to be for, to manage the crossings due to their economic and security importance. Of course, all the borders are going to be really important. When you adjust the value of a currency, one of the things that you're going to need to do is to have economic and security at the borders. Economic security will be with respect to their currency. So let's see how they go with this. They state that customs policy has agreed to establish appropriate mechanisms to unify the policy in accordance with what was stipulated in the Constitution. So they invoke the Constitution, and that they have an agreement between the two parties. It says the reality of the border crossings, customs policies, prior inspection of imported goods and merchandise, all on the table, and they're moving forward on this. So that's a pretty powerful situation that they're going through. And the next thing is that Al-Sudani discusses with Al-Zarfi the implementation of the government program and financial affairs that are related to the tripartite budget. So here they're going to talk about the tripartite budget, which hasn't been 100% opened completely. We know that it's been passed as of June 12th, and yet the Kurds are still financing or supposedly financing salaries, and they're not getting paid. You haven't seen the oil start to flow through the Cyan port yet again, and why is that? Well, we believe that's because they don't have a valuation yet for that oil. We haven't done that. They haven't paid the salaries, they haven't paid the HCL, or they haven't actually finished it. But they said they have it slated, they have agreements on it, but they haven't talked about it yet. And so here we are, we're going to the customs. Okay, they're talking about unifying, they're talking about mechanisms, new mechanisms, okay? But in this particular case, this article here is about the tripartite budget. It talks about the Shia al-Sudani discussed with a member of the Finance Committee in the House of Representatives. And it goes on to say that the progress of the implementation of the government program, financial affairs, and belongings related to the tripartite budget, and the performance of service and social services in providing services to the citizens and their completion rates in various fields. Once again, Al-Sudani, the HCL, Al-Sadr, everybody has been for what? End of the day, it's for services to the citizens, whether that's electricity, cheaper food, purchasing power. Those are all part of the government program, and we're seeing that government program. And again, back to the WTO, for instance, part of the customs reasoning that the customs IMF meetings were related to the WTO is because their customs laws needed to be taken care of. Now they're talking about unifying the customs and borders between Iraq to get them all cinched up. All when? At the last moment before the end of the year. That's what they're working on, and that's what these articles are talking about. It goes here, it says the statement from the Sudanese office, which is the Prime Minister, says that the importance of coordination and cooperation with the executive and legislative authorities was emphasized in these meetings in order to proceed with the government program and complete its success and meet the aspirations of citizens and all of the governments of Iraq. So everybody in the Kurdish region to the central region of Iraq are going to all be on a level playing field. And who's going to gain from it? All of the citizens of Iraq, not just a few. So it's going to be all of them. And my last little bit here, it says that in a binding manner, taxes announced the adoption of electronic payment to pay money early next year. It says the General Tax Authority announced today, Monday, December 11th, the adoption of the electronic payment in a binding manner for paying taxes starting from the 1st of January 2024. Remember, we have a tripartite budget they talked about from what? Retroactive from back to January 1st, 2023. So sometime before that, their constitution suggests they need to spend that money for those projects. The development road project, that's what our belief is, that they have to open that up. And it's fascinating that we see these things happening today. Remember, the traditional auction they talked about started the implementation date for the dollar. Last one for the year was December 6th, right? Sorry, all the way out to the 20th, and that's still coming up. There's also to keep in mind that there is these Islamic certificates that are starting tomorrow that have a back end date for implementation, if you will. Actually, activation is the first day, which is tomorrow supposedly. It just runs to the 26th. But are those just indicators? They're just things that we watch and pay attention to. Because why? Because that's what the Iraq Central Bank and others are telling us. It isn't something that we're making up and pulling out of the sky, right? Remember when Al-Awlaq, the central bank governor, said the project to delete the zeros still exists? Well, we have evidence of that, and it's in our forum. So anybody that's going out there doing extra videos saying it's never going to happen and that we are making this stuff up, I would question why they're doing that. Okay, so this particular article says achieving this goal requires completion of electronic steps that begin with the generalization of electronic payment, which is now applied in all branches of the authority in Baghdad. So the whole country is basically getting to that stage where they are going to implement electronic payment in all its branches in Baghdad and the governance during the coming period. And this is the first step. It says the second step will be to approve the self-assessment in the General Authority of Taxes. So they'll be able to monitor themselves. It says Iraq was the only country that did not implement the self-assessment system until 2 months ago. So until 2 months ago, they did it. All right. So they got it set up 2 months ago. I think about 2 months ago, they said they had all air, land, and sea ports interconnected. And they even mentioned was it the Kirkuk airport? Gosh, we can double check that. But no matter what, as of January 1st, 2024, taxpayers are going to be obligated to pay what they owe through electronic payment systems. Now, we all know that the electronic payment systems in Iraq are underway. We all know that the electronic ISO 20022 system is in place. We all know that the dollar is going away between now and the 20th. For commercial purposes, it will not be used as of the same date as this taxation in the country. So will they still be able to buy dollars to travel, etc., for school and education through the SWIFT system with legitimate means? Yes. Will they be able to use the dollar for transactions in country for commercial purposes? Answer no. Will they be able to use any other currency other than the dinar for commercial purposes within the country as of January 1, 2024? From my understanding of it is the answer is no. Do they now use the euro or any other currencies, the dirham, et cetera, et cetera? They say that they do. But why? Because they're using the SWIFT ISO 20022 system. Know your customers. They have long rules. Go onto the CBI's website if you don't understand what I'm saying. Go on and look, and there's pages and pages of data. I think the last document for instructions for this system, it could be 26 to 30 pages long. Okay, there's rules and regulations that these people at the central bank and all the correspondent banks that they've been talking about have rules and regulations to abide by. And so now here they are saying that you're going to be obligated to pay taxation through an electronic payment system. So they're going to get paid. That's all there is to it. So everybody stand by for this to get really exciting, because everything that we're seeing is telling me that we've never been here before, and that project that Al-Awlaq talks about, I think, is coming to a key stage in the process. So let's see what happens. But everyone, thank you very much for being with Militia Man and Crew today. For all of the new folks that just arrived today, if you like this content, hey, just hit that like button and please subscribe. And if all those people that enjoy the content and want to keep it flowing, we have Venmo, PayPal, Zelle. All of those things are to help the crew keep the pipeline open and flowing. And really, thank you all for being here tonight. Have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.